Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 17 of the Vet Your Spending Challenge. I am your host and facilitator, Sophia Melone, the Debt Demolisher, and I want to welcome you to the Debt Demolisher TV. So you guys know that we have been moving along and we have been moving and shaking with this challenge. We have completed 16 days of the Vet Your Spending Challenge, and we are now jumping into day 17. For those of you who are new, I want to welcome you. For those of you who are returning, I want to say, hey. You know how we do. You guys have been doing amazing with your growth work. You guys have been doing amazing with your engagement. And I just appreciate not only your time, but I appreciate your attention and your commitment to show up for this process, not just for the sake of showing up for this process, but to show up for this process for you. So it really means a lot for me to be able to have this opportunity to speak before you guys, to facilitate before you guys, and just to help ignite a new conversation around your finances and your money mindset in that relation to, especially when it comes to the holiday season. So I'm super excited that you're here. And if you are ready to jump into this work, let me see your readies in the chat. So for my folks who are live with me, let me go ahead and pop out this chat because it looks like Zoom and YouTube has successfully connected. Let me pull this out and see who's in the room because, I want to see my people. Okay. All right. Q Scott is in the building. Hey, Q Scott. Acacia is in the building. Hello, Acacia. CW is here. Hey, CW. And listen, CW. Woo, CW. I got to shout you out real quick because I was going through the growth work assignments and reviewing the submissions, and I was looking at your response for the savings challenge tip number 8. So the day 15's growth work. Oh my gosh, touched my whole soul. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. So I want to celebrate you. I want to shout you out. And I just want to thank you for the work that you've been doing, the commitment that you've been doing, the level of deepness that you've been going into. You have really been showing up and you've really been showing out during this challenge. And I just wanted to take the time to acknowledge you because your growth work was powerful, and the piece that you put for your objectives for the savings challenge tip number 8. So shout out to CW. Y'all give CW some love. Sherry is in the building. Hey, Sherry. So good to see you. So good to see you guys. All right. I'm seeing y'all readies in the chat. Lisa Smiles is in the building. Hey, Lisa. So good to see you. So good to see you. All right. I'm super excited. And CW saying, oh, thanks. You're so welcome. You are so welcome. So if y'all ready, we're going to jump right in. We're not going to waste any time, no time at all. So I know that you guys have been getting a lot of work throughout these days. So we've completed 16 days. We're now on day 17, and you guys have been doing a lot of work. You've been putting in a lot of effort. You've been doing a lot of reflection. You have literally been taking your thinking process and your strategy and your approaches around the holiday season to the next level. And most importantly, you're looking at it from an internal standpoint, and you're looking at it from a space of really thinking about, have I been doing this thing wrong all of these years before? And how am I going to address those things that may seem like hindrances to me, or address those things that I may want to avoid in terms of conversation? You guys have been being so transparent, and you've been pouring into your work. And I just want to acknowledge you for all that you've been doing. I want to thank you all for your participation, showing up. You guys come in this chat, you're engaged, you're supporting one another. You are just doing the work, and you're showing up not only for yourself, but to support one another. And I think that is so beautiful. So your participation in the lives, your submissions for your growth work, I just really hope that you guys are getting some value out of this, out of everything that we've covered. And again, some of it may seem like a lot, but as you move through it, you will see that it's not only building upon each other, it's really igniting that transformation so that you can really unlock some things on your mind when it comes to your mental approach. So for you guys who are joining, for you guys who are in the chat, I would love for you to just drop a few revelations, drop a few nuggets in terms of what you feel like the value has been so far. So based on your experience so far, what value are you getting from this challenge? And again, we just completed 16 days. We're jumping into day 17. So I really want to know what you've been able to gain so far. And then also for that way, other people can really see that you're doing this work is creating a new revelation within you. It's creating a new experience within you. It's allowing you to look at your money from a completely different standpoint. So if you can share that in the chat, I would absolutely, absolutely love that. Now, here we go. I want us to talk a little bit about the numbers because we've been doing a lot of journaling. You guys have had an opportunity to do a lot of reflection. You guys have had an opportunity to look at the gifts that was on your list. You've had an opportunity to look at what the value was. You had an opportunity to see, okay, is this a need or is it a want? You had an opportunity to go back to the people who were on your preliminary gift list for you to actually ask them, okay, what do you want and why? Not to say that you're going to get it for them, but just to find out what they want, to see how closely does it align to what you had planned to give them. So you had an opportunity to do all of these things. You had an opportunity to really get into that mindset and get into that mind space to find out what they want, correlate that to what you plan to give them, see how that aligns with not only what your purpose of the holiday is, but what your vision and your intention is for the holiday, which was the growth work that you completed last night. Or maybe today, if you turned it in today, which is totally fine. So now I want us to revisit our preliminary list because I'm pretty sure after these conversations, I'm pretty sure after all of these reflections, I'm pretty sure after all of these journaling exercises, you probably made some modifications to your list. Somehow, some way, some shape or form. Some of y'all may have, some of y'all may have not. So I want to know, drop in the chat for me, how many items do you have on your list today? As a result of the growth work assignments that you've completed thus far, even if you have not gotten all of them done, still, how many items are on your list today? If you were to pull out your preliminary gift list right now with the cost estimates, if you have it in your journal, for my folks who are registered, you know that you have your template. For those of you who are not registered, but you're still tuning in, you should have this in your journals. You should have this written down somewhere for you. But how many items are on your list as of today? Because now that you've tapped into your intention and your vision, you probably either increase some of the items or you may have reduced it after you had some conversations to find out what people actually want in comparison to what you had planned to give them. You may add an item, you may want to take away an item. So it just really just depends. So what I want us to really do in terms of thinking about our approach, thinking about how we're going into what we plan to give this holiday season, even if you did not modify your listing after the conversations, even if you feel like, okay, my stuff was spot on, we still have some modifications that we need to do. So based on the items that you have on your list so far, we want to think about what could drive the cost up for those things. Now, based on the growth work that I've seen, a lot of you guys have some physical items. Some of you guys have intangible items. One thing that I thought that was absolutely beautiful was that a lot of the things that, the people who you asked what they wanted, it wasn't tangible. They wanted time. They just wanted to be in your space. They wanted you to give them a relief, watch a child for them, come down and visit them, be in their face, be in their presence. I thought that was so beautiful. But I do understand that there are times where you actually want to be able to give a physical gift. And there are times where the person who you want to give something to would actually like to receive a gift. So now that we know that there are some tangibles, this conversation is going to focus on the tangibles. Why? Because we know that we're going to have to cough up some money. We're going to have to spend some money to get this thing. Now, for today's lesson, it may not apply to everyone. I'm going to say this again. Today's lesson may not apply to everyone as it pertains to your holiday giving. But if you take this nugget that I'm getting ready to share with you guys, you could apply this to any expense that you have forthcoming, regardless of the season, regardless of the situation. So here's what we want to do. When you think about the gift that you plan to give, based on what's on your preliminary list, I see you guys saying that you have 5 or 6 items. I see you guys saying that you have 7 items. I see you guys saying that you have 11 items. Good. Based on these items that are on your list, now here's what I want you to do. You want to think about what could drive up the cost of this gift over time. And not only for you, but for the person who you are gifting it to. And I'm going to give you guys an example so that we can reel this all in and it can make a lot of sense. So when you think about it from a perspective of what you're buying, you want to think about the life cycle cost. So the title of this live is what? Understanding the life cycle cost. And so we're going to apply the same concept to the gift that we are giving, to the expense that we are getting ready to incur to purchase this tangible thing for someone else. But you also want to look at it from a holistic standpoint to see what is going to be the life cycle cost for you, as well as what is going to be the life cycle cost for the person you are gifting it to. Because even though you give it to someone, that may not necessarily mean that you are going to continue to fund the expense to maintain it. It may have to be an expense on the person who you're gifting it to, and who's to say that they had the financial bandwidth in order to uphold that. So what we want to do is we want to look at the life cycle cost. We want to look at the whole life cost thing. So, and when you think about that definition, life cycle costing or whole life costing, whichever way you want to call it, is pretty much the process of estimating how much money you will spend on an asset over the course of its time, over the course of its useful life. This is accounting terms because y'all know I'm an accountant, but over the course of its useful life, over the course of the use in terms of how long that thing is going to be used. So a whole life costing pretty much covers the assets from the time you purchase it all the way up until you get rid of it. So from acquisition to disposition, for my folks who may be familiar with accounting terminology. So from the point of acquisition all the way through disposition, what are the cost elements that may fit within that timeline or within that life cycle? Y'all got it? So here we go. So the cost that relates to life cycle is not only the cost of the purchase or the cost to purchase the item. So it'll be the cost to purchase the item. It will also be the cost to install the item. And that this depends on what it is, depending on what the asset type is, but the cost to install the item, the cost to operate it, everyday use, the cost to maintain it, the cost to finance it, the cost to depreciate it, the cost to dispose of it. So let me give you guys a good example. So let's say, for instance, and I'm gonna start with one, and I may give other examples depending on how we are with time. But let's start with this. If you decide to give your child a phone, let's say you decide to give your child a phone for the holiday. You decide to give them a phone for Christmas. You decide to give them a phone for a birthday, even if you don't celebrate holiday, if you don't celebrate Christmas, whatever shape and form you plan to give to someone else. If you decide to give your child a phone, you want to think about, let's run it through the cycle that we just said. If you decide to give your child a phone, you have to think about the cost of the phone. Nowadays, we're gonna go with an iPhone that's popular. Everybody's getting iPhones, right? So these little things right here cost about $1,400, depending on which model you get. So the cost of the phone, $1,400 if you're getting the latest model. Then you want to think about the cost to install it. So the cost to install it wouldn't necessarily apply to the phone, because all of that stuff is kind of like already included into when you purchase the phone, because you have to get an installment plan, or you have to get the service plan. But if your child already has a phone and you're just buying them another one, you really don't have to worry about the installation piece. The next one, what is the cost to operate it? So in order to operate it, you need service. So does that mean that the plan needs to be upgraded? Because sometimes, depending on the phone that you have, it requires a different level of service. So does this mean that because you're getting this phone, you now have to upgrade your service? You have to update your service so that it can be in compliance with, 5G or whatever the the technology stuff is. So you want to think about it from that perspective. What are the costs associated with it? Not only that, what is the cost for storage? You know that we're paying for storage. You know that a lot of things are in the cloud now. Your phone may run out of storage, and so you're paying an extra $5 a month, $6 a month, $7 a month in order to keep the service alive and keep your phone operational. Another one, maintenance. So what are the costs to maintain it? We know that Apple Care is necessary. We know that you have to have some type of insurance on your phone. You have to have something so in case if it breaks, if it drops in the toilet, if something happens to it, you can be able to replenish it. What is the cost of that? $100, $150, whatever that fee is for the insurance. That's maintenance. Then you want to think about finance. Let's say you don't have $1,000 or $1,400 to pay for the phone up front, so you buy it on credit. So the financing piece is the interest that you're paying on the charge that you made over time until you pay it off. Have you considered those costs? And then you want to think about, okay, if you want to dispose of it, I think that really doesn't really apply for the phone, because typically if you turn a phone in, then you're trading it in, and sometimes they give you money for that. So that was just an example for that. Acacia said car. That's a perfect example. No, Adela said car. Hey, Adela, welcome. Adela said car. That's a perfect example. Let's say if you decide to gift someone with a car, or someone decides to gift you with a car. Come on, somebody, let's do it that way. If somebody decides to gift you with a car, more than likely, they are not going to continue to pay for the upkeeping of it. They're not going to continue to put gas in it. They're not going to pay for tags. They're not going to pay for any of those things if they've paid all of this money to get you the car. So if you think about the life cycle cost, you want to think about all of that. What is mainly going to be the cost to you as the gift receiver to maintain the car? Maintenance, tags, tickets, any of tires replacement, repairs, thinking about all of the things that's associated with it, and even up into depreciation. The depreciation side would actually tie into the car, because, you know, as soon as you drive the car off the lot, it depreciates in value. So if someone were to give you the gift of a car, or vice versa, you give someone the gift of a car, you have to weigh the cost in terms of depreciation as well, because the value drops. And I know that's like accounting terminology. A lot of folks don't really think about that, but you do want to be able to think about the value of what you're giving and how that value is sustaining over the life of its use for the person who you're gifting it to, or if you are being the gift receiver. Does that make sense? And then same thing with computers. If you buy your child, or if you buy someone in your family a laptop, you buy them a computer, you got to think about all the gadgets that go with it. What do you need? You probably need a scanner. You probably need a microphone. You probably need lights if they're like into video and stuff like me. I need lights. I need microphones. I need webcams. I have all of these nicks and knacks around. So you have to think about all of the costs that's associated with that. All of the costs that's associated with that, not just partial. So does that make sense? Is everyone okay so far with that? I'm going to pull up your growth work in the meantime, because what I really want you guys to understand is we have to think about, based on the full life cycle cost, is this something that I really want to invest in? That if I buy this for them, the person who I'm giving it to will be able to upkeep it and has considered all of the costs that's associated with it. Even with the phones, you have your AirPods, you have your chargers, and now they sell things separately. You know, you need a separate adapter for this and that. You know, they're finding all kinds of ways to make money off of us. I'm just saying. So we want to think about the full cost of everything to see if it makes sense, to see if not only if we can continue to afford it and afford the upkeep, but maybe even the person who we plan to give it to will be able to afford the upkeep. And again, like I said, you could apply these things to every area of your life, regardless of what it is. Okay, so I see Q Scott is saying increasing the value. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I must have answered your question, because you said, okay, gotcha. Q Scott says gifting someone a home and they may not be able to maintain the property taxes. Hello. Hello, say something, somebody. Say something, somebody. Let me tell you something. This was a conversation that was held during the session that we did yesterday. My co-presenter, Danielle, she actually shared her story as well about that same situation and that same scenario in terms of how property was gifted to her. But she had to think about the total cost. She had to think about, okay, can I truly afford this? Can I truly afford the maintenance? Can I truly afford the property taxes? Can I truly afford the insurance? Can I truly afford everything that's going to actually cause me to be able to maintain the home? Because it's one thing about getting it, but it's another thing about being able to stay in it, sustain it, and upkeep the cost. And that's a prime example, because if you don't pay your property tax, you better believe they're going to put a property tax lien on it and you will be out of there, because the government wants their money and they are going to get their money. So if you can't pay the taxes, that's the quickest way that people lose their property, because they can't pay the taxes, especially when someone passes away and the house becomes vacant, the property tax rate changes. If y'all didn't know that, if someone passes away, and let's say if there's a home, and I'm probably going into a whole nother conversation, but let's say, for instance, you had a family member that lived in a home and they lived in that home and their property taxes was probably lower because, first of all, they were an occupant. They may have been a senior, they probably had homestead deductions and all of these things. And once that person passes and the ownership is up in the air and they find out that the property is vacant, or the owner of the home no longer lives in there, taxes are going up. Vacant tax, all the homestead deductions, all of that stuff goes away. So there's a huge price increase. And this is one of the major reasons why a lot of times when property of someone who passes away is up into an estate, a lot of times the family ends up having to sell it because of the cost, because it's so expensive. And so we really want to be, and then there's a lot of stipulations, you got to buy people out depending on family members. There's a whole nother conversation. I may need to get somebody to come up on here and we do an interview about estate planning, but this is a whole conversation for a whole nother day. But that's a perfect example of what Q Scott shared about giving someone a home, but they can't afford the property tax. That is true. They can't afford to maintain not only the property, but also be able to manage the taxes. Okay, so yep, Adela said like a car. CW is saying good examples to Q Scott and Adela. Okay, Coach Natisha's in the building. Hey, Coach Natisha, good to see you. All right, so y'all giving loves. Okay, CW is saying gifting puppies and kittens are definitely a money sink. Oh, yes. Come on and talk about it. You got to think about that. Somebody give you a cat or give you a dog, you got to think about insurance. You got to think about grooming. You got to think about feeding a dog. You got to think about all of these things. So it's a costly expense. And not only that, you got to think about doggy care, putting the dogs in the little, what do you call those things when you have to travel so you don't leave them locked up in a cage? And yeah, even that, cages, leashes, dog food, dog bowls, toys, they chew up stuff. It's a huge expense. That's an exceptional example as well. Gifting puppies can be very expensive. So before you go and you buy a cat or you buy a puppy for someone, you got to make sure that the cost to uphold it or the cost to sustain it has been vetted through whoever is going to be keeping that animal or whoever's going to be keeping that pet inside of the home. So good job. All right. Okay, good. So Q Scott is saying, wow, I didn't know that. Okay, no wonder my mom had a homestead appeal when my grandfather passed. I'm telling y'all, it's the truth. I'm telling y'all. And if you don't have homestead deduction, listen, go and apply. That's one of the things that I always tell my friends, especially when they go into home ownership, because you don't know. A lot of people don't know. I think one of my friends had just bought a house. I was like, okay, you need to fill this out. You need to do this. You need to file this right now while your salary is what it is. Because if you try to apply later and you make too much, you may not qualify. So it's just like stuff like that. A lot of people don't know, but yeah, there are ways in which you could minimize your property taxes as much as possible. But yes, let the owner pass away. It's going to be all gone. But I'm glad that your mom was able to get that appeal and get that appeal done. So hopefully she was able to still be able to maintain that homestead deduction. And then not only that, as a senior, you can, depending on the state that you live in, let me clarify that, because it depends on where you live. But I know where I live, we get homestead and we get senior discount depending on how old you are. So, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Yep. Q Scott is saying, especially with vaccinations. Yep. All of the shots, and yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive to take care of a pet. All right. Okay. And I see CW says, I'm good with stuffed animals. And Q Scott is saying the child wants it, but the parent is giving you a side eye. Hello. Definitely. Okay, let me share with you guys what your growth work is, because we are coming up on the top of the hour. This will be relatively quickly. Let me go ahead and share screen so you all can see what your growth work is. You should be able to see this if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this is sharing now. So your growth work for day 17 of the Bet Your Spending Challenge, where we are getting you money conscious and in control of your finances during the holiday season. We are going to be focusing on that preliminary list and updating it. So what I want you to do is to literally, for each item that's on your list, you are going to answer the question, what would drive up the cost for this item for me as the gift giver, or for them as the gift receiver? So you're really going to be thinking about the items. And again, I said this may not apply because some of you may not have items that would really fit this category, but still stick with me here. If you have something on your list that is a tangible item that could potentially have an additional cost, I want you to think outside the box and really think about what would drive up the cost of this item for the gift giver as well as the gift receiver. So you want to look at it from both ends, from both perspectives. And then based on that item, based on whatever you've been able to identify, you're going to see if you can do the calculations on what that increase in the cost would be. So and I'm going to give you guys an example because I'm going to pull up a new template for day 17, which you guys who are registered are going to get. But you're going to literally think about each thing that drives up the cost, and you're going to give it a dollar value. And as you give it a dollar value, you're going to add that amount. You're going to add that amount to your preliminary list for it to create your projected total life cost of the item. And it's going to give you your new subtotal. Is that making sense? So you're going to begin to think about what are the things that can drive up the cost. What are the things? So if you have a child that wants a game, okay, an additional cost will be the actual games that they have to play. An additional cost will be the controllers that they have to use. The additional cost will probably be the headsets that they need if they're going to be streaming or playing with other kids online. You want to think about all of the costs that's associated with it. What could go out? What are some additional features, some additional joysticks or whatever is needed in order for the games to operate? Think about it across the board. And even when it comes to the games, sometimes now you like buy points or something, like you can buy points, and a lot of the transactions are being done online. So you want to think about that too. What if my kid is playing this game and they just click, and it's buying all of these points, and it's all of a sudden $400 charged on your account? So you want to think about all of these things. What is everything that could potentially drive the cost up, every single element, and you're going to jot that down. So for my folks who are registered, you already know what you're going to get. So I'm going to share an updated template for you guys. So the updated template for day 17, you are literally going to update your list. And again, you guys are going to get this. You're going to update your list. And I already put some examples in here just to kind of walk through. But say, for example, you gave someone a phone. This is a tangible item. You projected that the cost of the phone is $1,400. You have your projected spend date. Then after doing your preliminary research, you find out, oh, the phone is actually $1,349. But again, there's probably going to be taxes and fees, but we're going to account for that in a later day. Then you want to really go into the adding the benefits and all of that. So these are going to be your new columns for my folks who are registered. You're going to get this updated template, and it's going to show you where you need to add in columns K through M. So you're now going to update and answer the question. What would drive up the cost for the gift item you are planning to give? And remember, you're going to think of this from both perspectives, from the gift giver, you as the gift giver, as well as from the gift receiver's perspective, either the child or the parent who you are giving it to. So you want to list out everything that is needed in order for you to be able to project out what that cost will be. So we have Apple Care for phone. I said Apple Care. I said chargers. We have phone cases, screen protectors, AirPods, charger adapters, the actual phone service, etc. So based on that, you're literally just going to add it up. Apple Care is probably $100. Chargers probably $60. Phone case is $20. Screen protectors $15. AirPods, they're probably more than 150, but I think I put 150 in here. The charger adapter is about $30. The phone service, so the actual phone service, how much more would be the increase in the phone service if you do have to change plans? And then you got to multiply that by the number of months that you're going to be paying, because we know that these plans and the services are charged on a monthly basis. So what is going to be the flux or the increase that you have to pay within that piece? And then not only that, the storage fees are also monthly. So for example, you're just going to put in what the projected life cycle cost is. I think I did the service one based on like 12 months as an example, just to be able to see what the increase will be for the storage side. And boom, the added projected life cycle cost is about $434. So with that, it's going to automatically give you what your new estimated cost for the gift item with the life cycle cost included. Got a typo, let me fix that. With the life cycle costs included. Okay, so there we go. This is all that you're going to do. So my folks who are registered, you know that you will get an updated template for day 17. And this one is going to include your life cycle costs. Again, I'm going to go over this. Once you get your file, it's going to take you to the instructions tab. Once you open up this file, you're going to save your copy, put it on your drive, download it on your computer, whatever you need to do. And then you're going to go over to the second tab so that you can click and get the updated version of the preliminary list projections, now with your life cycle costs included. Okay. Are there any questions? I know I ran through that quickly, but I want to make sure that y'all are good. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, Coach Natisha saying hit the like button, fam. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Q Scott is saying done at log on. Good idea. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Do you all have any questions at all before I let you go? Because I want you guys to begin to think about the items that are on your list. And for those of you who this won't apply to, you're going to have a free night, I guess. I guess you're going to have a free night from growth work. But I really want you guys to begin to think about the cost, the long-term cost of the things that you're buying, and not just during the holiday season, but also just in general. Definitely in general. So CW says, it makes me think twice about giving kids paint sets, project extra costs for carpet and furniture cleaning. Yes. Come on now. Yes, the kids be making a mess, stuff be all over the place, staining up the carpet. Now the parents got to get a professional carpet cleaner to either come in and clean the carpet or replace the carpet. Good point. Good point, CW. I'm telling you, y'all on it. Y'all are on it. Y'all are on it tonight. So I'm super excited. I want to leave you guys so that you guys can go ahead and get to work on your growth work. Go ahead and get started. For those of you who are registered, you already know that you're going to get the updated template for day 17 with your recap email. And for those of you who this exercise may not necessarily apply to for the challenge purposes, feel free to, linger and enjoy the day where you can, but still reflect on these exercises and reflect on this work. And then we'll come back and jump into day 18 of the Vet Your Spending Challenge. For those of you who need to get caught up, feel free to get caught up. Recap emails went out to everyone in terms of what was outstanding. So if something was outstanding for you, then you got an email from me. Okay. You got an email from me if something was outstanding, because one of the things that I really want to do is hold you accountable to your yes. And I want to hold you accountable to what you committed to once you signed up for this challenge. So that's my job and my responsibility to uphold you to that. And so until you officially release me from holding you accountable, then I'm gonna keep holding you accountable. Okay, at least until this challenge is over. All right, so you guys have a great evening. I'm gonna let you guys go. Any questions, you could always feel free to drop them in this live if you want, or if you want to put your comments on the community post. I'm going to post the growth work card onto my community page. It's going to be available for those of you who are not registered. That way you can still do the work, still participate if you find it helpful, if you find it valuable. Oh, let me go back and read. Did you guys put in what the value was? Okay, let me go back to the top. All right. Okay, so Acacia's saying that she's more mindful of her spending. Yay! More mindful of her spending. CW says, I feel like I'm taking everything out of the closet and things are a bit messy. I'm not sure what's going to go back in the closet and what gets thrown out permanently. That's a good start. You know, it reminds me of what's the method that whatchamacallit uses. I cannot remember her name, but the method where they take everything out, dump it on the bed, and then you sort what you're going to keep, what you're going to give, what you're going to dump. It's kind of like that. You're literally uprooting everything, pulling everything out so that you can sort through and figure out what you're going to keep, what you're going to toss, and what you're going to repurpose or what you're going to give away. So very good. Q Scott has said that she's happy that I made time to do this challenge. As busy as my schedule is, it has helped me to be disciplined and tackle processes and reflect on things I've been wanting to do, but putting off for quote unquote later. Woo! That was a whole word. You just said a whole word right there about making time, creating the time. Come on, definitely top kudos to you. Top kudos to you, because despite your busy schedule, like you said, you're still showing up and you're committing to your yes. You're committing to your yes for you because you know that this is going to help you down the line. So I'm so glad that you said yes. And I'm so glad that you've been showing up and showing out. Hey, showing up and showing out. Hey, showing up and showing out. Hey. So Sherry is saying revelation regarding why I give the way I do. Yeah, Sherry, let me tell you something. Your growth work, when I tell you, your growth work too has been powerful to read. And I'm just loving the revelations that you've been able to share and the ahas that you've been able to experience as a result of just going through these days. So it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. I'm so glad that y'all here. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, y'all, I'm gonna let you guys go. You all know what to do. Let's get to work. The savings challenge tip number 10 is going to be coming to you guys for the folks who are registered. Don't worry, you're going to have an easy day. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You're going to have an easy night because I really want you guys to be able to focus on thinking about your life cycle costs. Okay, I want you to think about your life cycle costs and really think about what's going to drive up those expenses so that you can increase your preliminary list to update your budget so that we can have more realistic numbers. Okay, all right. So that's all I have for you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. And I want to remind you guys that your financial prosperity awaits you, and so does your financial sanity. I will see you guys tomorrow for day 18. If you're ready, let's go. Hey, if you're ready, let's go. Hey, if you're ready, let's go. Hey, if you're ready, let's go. Bye.